Hi guys, good morning. I hope you guys are having a really fantastic day today. Today I'm going to do a video on some signs of manipulation. Sometimes if you're a codependent or you're an empath, you're a highly empathetic person, you're very caring, you're a people pleaser, it can be very, very difficult to tell if you are being manipulated, especially if it's just not in your wheelhouse because it's just not the way that you operate. And so it can be very, very confusing. So here are just some possible signs. This list is definitely not comprehensive, but it's just some signs that you're dealing with manipulators or a manipulator, and that this is actually emotional abuse. So I'm going to refer to a lot of the notes because a lot of this I got from Dr. Ross Rosenberg, who wrote The Human Magnet Syndrome, and he has a lot of great information out there, books and lectures, as well as YouTube videos on how to heal codependence and how to recognize if you are with a narcissist or sociopath or psychopath or one of the manipulative people. Number one is, I'm going to go over 10 signs that you may be, dealing with somebody who's manipulative. So one, they constantly make you prove yourself. You feel like nothing you ever do is good enough. You're constantly trying to reach this perfectionist ideal, right? So they can tend to be impatient, demanding, selfish, especially if they're the overt narcissist. The covert narcissist, on the other hand, can actually appear to be quite patient and not demanding, and their selfishness can be quite hidden. But in general, you'll notice that they don't respect your boundaries, and that can be with a covert. It can be very subtle, and it can be very slow and very over time. Or a sociopath with an overt, you'll tend to feel pretty much right away that your boundaries are just not really being respected, and they're pushing and they're testing and they're checking to see what they can get away with. And if you feel when you're around somebody that you're constantly overextending yourself because you fear, they'll ask you to do things and you fear that if you don't do it, you're going to upset them or let them down. But you're not really comfortable doing the things that they ask you to do. They could ask you for money. They could ask you to do, for more of your time than you feel comfortable. And you'll also maybe notice that they don't really respect your time. I mean, these people can be notoriously late. They don't show up. They're not where they say they're going to be. Again, if you're more with the sociopath, the really smart sociopath or covert narcissist, they can be much less obvious about this. But more with the overt narcissist, they're just, they just don't have any respect for your time. They tend to communicate passive aggressively. You might find that you're punished later. You may do something, you don't even know that it offended them, and then they'll give you the silent treatment or stonewalling, or they'll do something passive aggressive. They'll agree to your face to something, and then later on they just won't do it, or they'll do the opposite of what you asked. You'll see that too, especially if you're dealing with a sociopath or covert narcissist. You can be like, hey, can you finish that bathroom? And they'll say, yes, of course I will. And then 9 years later, it's not finished. That's a real example. It's a weird one, but true. Also, if they use middlemen and this is called triangulation. In these families, there's a lot of triangulation. People don't go to each other and directly communicate with honesty, authenticity, and sincerity. They typically often use middlemen. You might see this with a mother-in-law in a narcissistic family. Instead of going directly to her son when she has a problem with the son, she'll go to the daughter-in-law and use triangulation. And that can be another sign that there's some manipulation going on here, that these are families that operate with manipulation and triangulation instead of direct, honest communication. I have a lot of examples in my life where I've had these relationships that were long-term relationships, and something happened where we were upset with each other, and we went to each other and directly communicated when we were upset. And, I have some great examples with some wonderful friends where we were able to resolve the issue with communication and understanding and directness. And then we develop these much more intimate, honest, authentic relationships. That is not the way that narcissists or sociopaths or emotional manipulators communicate. They're never direct. They do not ask for their needs directly to be met. They're very passive aggressive. Another form, gaslighting. That's where they tell you you didn't see what you saw, you didn't hear what you heard, your reality is not your reality. They pretend that they didn't say something. They twist the truth. They deny they did or said something. They'll say one thing one day and then take it back the next day. And it's very, very manipulative. If gaslighting is happening, not only is it a form of manipulation, it's a form of emotional and psychological abuse. And it is very damaging to the individual who's the recipient of it. Sometimes with these people, with manipulators, they can be like, they're just joking, but they're mean-spirited. They could be making fun of you in front of somebody. And then later on, when you say it hurt your feelings, they'll tell you that you overreacted and you're too sensitive. They're always, with a lot of these people, especially the covert narcissists and the sociopaths, they'll paint you out to be the one that's the overreactor. They are the calm, cool, collected one, right? They love to, they love to prod, put a little bit of manipulation into the stew and upset you emotionally because you have emotions, right? And they really don't. And they'll instigate, they'll create chaos so that normal people, especially empaths, will have a reaction, a normal human reaction, an emotional reaction. And then the narcissist will say, look at you overreacting. You're so oversensitive. You're so melodramatic, right? They are always the victim. The narcissist is always the victim. They avoid taking any personal responsibility for the harms that they cause. They're always the victim. They don't know why this is happening to them, even though they've been gaslighting, cheating, lying, manipulating, passive-aggressively, hurting others. So they just have no idea why this is happening to them. They're just the innocent victim, and just bad stuff happens to them. They're always the victim, right? They never say, I'm really sorry I did that. I need to take some personal responsibility for this, and this. And what can I do to set it right, to make amends? You just won't hear that from a narcissist or a manipulator. And this happens a lot in the beginning. They'll act kind. They will flatter you, but you need to know that they have a hidden motivation. This flattery is the most empty kind. It's not real. They don't really give a shit about you. They're just using flattery and faux kindness to, because they have ulterior motives, because they want something from you. They will minimize your problems. They will make you feel small. They will act as if your problems are not important. Their problems matter. Yours are little. They'll dismiss your feelings. They make you feel like what's bothering you just doesn't really matter. And they don't do this at first in the love bombing, the narcissists and the sociopaths, but eventually they will definitely minimize your feelings. And then they often emphasize their calm, cool, collected side, right? So they will seem calm, cool, and collected. And then what they did is they manipulated, they created a reaction, and then they shame you for your reaction. And they go to all their flying monkeys and say, look at how crazy this person is. Look at how this person's overreacting. But the narcissist has been studying you, psychologically manipulating you, and they know what's going to cause or create a reaction if you're a normal human being. They often will, or sometimes will use emotional blackmail. They will make you feel guilty and obligated. Sometimes with some of the extreme narcissists, they will threaten suicide or self-harm if you leave them, making you feel guilty, like you have to stay. They sometimes will take, so for sure, one thing they do is they take advantage of your trusting and sensitive nature. If other people tell you that you're very kind, that you're very caring, that you wear your heart on your sleeve, that you're very open and you're a very empathetic person, listen to that if all your friends tell you that, because that means that you're probably a target for an emotional manipulator. And, normal people will not take advantage of that. Healthy, kind people will not take advantage of your kind, giving nature. That is what narcissists do. If you're a real giver, if you're really generous of heart and your time, and it's, you're constantly like helping others, narcissists will absolutely exploit that. Your good friends, your kind people, your decent, healthy people will not exploit that. They will appreciate that about you and, honor it and give you love and loving validation for that. But a narcissist will use your giving nature and exploit it. They will love that you're a giver so they can suck you dry and take everything they can from you, wring you out, and then discard you. And this is the pattern that they do throughout their whole lives. So these are just some of the signs that you may be emotionally manipulated. And you know, if you're seeing a lot of these signs in any of your relationship where people are not using direct communication, where there's passive aggressive, where they're giving you the silent treatment, where they're doing intermittent reinforcement of love bombing and then withholding, or you feel like, you know, things are disjointed, disconnected, you're not building a rich, full, authentic relationship, you know, these are some signs that you need to protect yourself and either exit that relationship or get some distance or end it, because these are, you know, if you're seeing any of these signs in the beginning, it is a huge red flag, because later on it's going to very likely get worse. And, you know, manipulators are a certain type of person. Some of them can be addicts. Addict manipulators actually can get clean and sober, do some step work, and get some help in therapy, and they can change. And I even think some of these personality disordered people can get some help and change, but it requires an incredible amount of intensive therapy and self-reflection. And, you know, it's really hard for personality disordered individuals, especially with narcissism or sociopaths, to self-reflect. They are not curious about their inner life. They are terrified of it. So usually they don't do any sort of authentic work and therapy, because even if they go to therapy because they were dragged there by their spouse or whatever, they bullshit the therapist. They're not honest, they're not authentic. They just put on, they're very performative. So if you get the feeling or see any of those signs that you might be being manipulated, then the best strategy is to exit quietly. Thank you so much for watching these videos. If you like them, please subscribe. And, you know, if there's some specific videos you want me to make, please put in a request. I've been doing that for people that are requesting specific content. You know, I have personal experience of overcoming a relationship with a narcissist, probably a sociopath, not sure which, but one of those. And so I've done a lot of work. I've read a lot of books. Most of this is self-education, but I also have completed a couple of trauma coaching certifications, and I'm offering some private coaching for specific clients that are interested in that. So feel free to contact me if you would like private coaching, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.